Subaru Natsuki was an extraordinary ordinary boy, born on Earth, the third planet in the solar system, to a middle-class family in the nation of Japan. If you were to sum his nearly 17 years of life, the previous sentence would be enough to describe him, and if you felt the need to add anything else, the extra sentence, he was a third-year public high school student with a tendency to not show up to class, would be sufficient. Placed at a fork in the road of life, such as whether to pursue a college degree or jump straight into the workforce, people are generally forced to make a decision one way or the other. That sort of decision making is something everyone has to deal with, and part of what we call life. But in Subaru's case, you might call it his specialty. He was a bit better than your average Joe at running away from things he did not like. In avoiding such a decision, the number of his unexcused absences had piled up, and before he knew it, he was a bona fide truant, the kind parents weep over. And to top it all off, now I've been summoned to a whole different world. I guess that seals the deal. I'm a high school dropout now, but seriously, what the hell is going on? He felt as if he was having a not so well thought out dream, but even after pinching his cheeks and smacking his head against the wall, he wouldn't wake up. Subaru sighed. He had drifted away from where he was, getting all sorts of curious looks. It was now sitting against the wall in an alley just off the main road. Assuming I really have been summoned to a fantasy world, the state of civilization appears to be the usual medieval-like setting. So far, I haven't seen anything mechanical, but the roads are pretty well paved, and of course I can't use any of my cash. As for whether he could communicate with the people here, and regarding the value of goods, those were things that Subaru checked immediately upon realizing he had been summoned to a different world. Fortunately, he had no problem communicating, and he was able to confirm that commerce was handled in a currency of gold, silver, and copper coins. His first contact, a merchant at a fruit stand, wasn't all that welcome to him, though. As Mirai Subaru was so quick to accept and understand his current situation, the fact that he was a modern Japanese youth poisoned by anime and games had something to do with it, and for that, he was very thankful. It wouldn't be an overstatement to say that as an adolescent boy, this sort of otherworldly summoning was the kind of thing you dreamed would happen to you. But on that note, without a little bit more of a welfare safety net thing going on, a laid-back guy like myself isn't going to be able to deal, you know? Subaru complained. Given his current situation and pitiful starting equipment, he couldn't help it. His belongings consisted of a cell phone, which looked like it would run out of batteries soon, a wallet filled with membership cards from various video rental stores, a cup of instant ramen he bought from a convenience store, pork bone and soy sauce flavor, a bag of crispy snacks bought from the same store, corn soup flavor, his favorite Trey tracksuit, unwashed, and well-worn sneakers, 2 years old. That was it. I don't even get a single Excalibur? I'm done! What am I supposed to do in this getup? Well, there was only so much you can hope for when you're summoned to a different world on your way back from the convenience store. It happened in the blink of an eye. Subaru had already gotten hungry, eating half of the one thing he had that might have been of any use, his bag of crispy snacks, before realizing that he had just gone through his only source of food, but worrying about it wasn't going to help him now. Even if he wanted to put his hopes on the possibility that this was being staged as part of an elaborate reality TV show, the large lizard carts and look of all the people passing by nipped that in the bud. The fact that no one seems to be paying attention to them means that they're probably normal, both those giant lizards and the half-humans. Subaru grumbled and looked on as people with strange outfits and colorful hair passed by, but out of all of them, the ones who really drove home the fact that he had been summoned to another world were the half-humans. Without having to look too long, Subaru could see people with dog ears and cat ears, and there were even some who looked like they were lizard men. But of course, they were also ordinary humans, the same as Subaru. So this is a world with half-humans, and probably wars and adventures too. As for whether there are any animals I'm used to around, I'm not too sure, but given that lizard cart thing, it looks like they use animals in the same way we do. After putting all that together, Subaru let out a long breath, but not a sigh. If things unfold the way he had fantasized about before, about otherworldly summoning, he ought to be able to use his knowledge of modern civilization to hold sway over everyone else. But there were a lot of things that still didn't make any sense. The truth is, I have no idea what to do next, and I still have no idea how or why I was summoned. I don't remember stepping into a mirror or falling in a pond. If I'm to believe this is the otherworldly summoning form I'm used to, where's the beautiful girl who summoned me? The lack of a main heroine in this otherworldly summoning setup was a big hole in the plot. If this were taking place in a 2D world, someone in the creative department was seriously slacking off. If Subaru was really summoned for no reason, and then abandoned just like that, it put him on the same level as single-use disposable goods. Now that Subaru had finished establishing the state of his surroundings, he really couldn't think of anything better to do than return to his default state of escaping from reality. I guess if I keep this up, it's no different from locking myself up in my room back home. The thought of his parents crossed his mind, but right now, he wasn't in a position where he could just sit around feeling homesick. Thinking he had to do something about his current situation, he stood back up and turned back toward the main road. But just as Subaru was about to walk out onto the main road, he almost bumped into someone who moved out in front of him. "Oh, sorry about that." Subaru gave a short apology and tried to continue past, but... "Hold up!" He was grabbed firmly by the shoulder and pulled back into the alley. Nearly falling over himself as he turned around, Subaru looked up to see that the person who had thrown him back was a man with a large build. Behind that man were two of his buddies, and the three men stood in such a way as to block Subaru from exiting the alley onto the main road. The way they moved, it didn't appear this was the first time these men had done this, and Subaru had a bad feeling about what was going to come next. May I ask what you three fine fellows plan on doing with me?" "Oh, it looks like this one's here's a smart one. Well, nothing to worry about. Just give us everything you got on you, and there's no need for anyone to get hurt." "So that's the deal, huh? Yeah, I guess it would be. This really sucks." The men's gazes were filled with scorn and ridicule. They looked like they were in their 20s, with the meanness of their personalities reflected in their faces and dirty appearances. They didn't look like they were half humans, but they certainly weren't saints either. You couldn't call it an unusual plot development. Encountering thugs was a way to show the dangers of everyday life. In other words, "Damn, I've triggered a compulsory event."